Hello and thank you for attending my PowerPoint presentation on the 8 banner patch that is 3.0. So in version 3.0 there will be 8 banners, which are 2 new characters and 6 reruns. I've made PowerPoints for every single one of them except Lingsha and the still unreleased Aglaea. In phase 1 there will be the Big Herta, Lingsha, Fei Xiao, and Jade. In terms of 4 stars, there will also be Natasha, Asta, and Water. In phase 2, there will be Aglaea, Boothill, Robin, and Silverwolf. As for 4 stars, there will be Tingyuan, Hanya, and Sushan. As for the Light Cone banner, for phase 1, there will be Only Silence Remains, Landau's Choice, and Genius's Repose. For phase 2, there will be Genius's Greetings, Subscribe for More, and Dance Dance Dance. So, the Big Herta is probably the strongest DPS in the game so far, granted now is still in the first half before Aglaea's proper full release. And the current MOC cycle is AoE oriented, Apocalyptic Shadow has peons as always, and Pure Fiction is Pure Fiction, so she's great in all 3 modes. It's also important to note that while she excels in AoE, she is fine against just like 2 to 3 targets. It's definitely not as good, but she is acceptable against fewer targets. As a fellow emanator of erudition this time, she might have an Acheron-esque dynamic that gives new erudition units value just because it can battery herself. But since she only needs 2 erudition including herself, it's much less restrictive than Acheron, so my guess is that probably not gonna be a huge deal. She also has a great free-to-play core being herself and Rimblazer, plus either Serval or Small Herta, whether you're looking purely to battery the Herta or some sub-DPS, which can also be upgraded with Argenti or Jade respectively. He is, again, currently top tier, but seeing how HP inflation and power creep is intense, it's not really looking too great. As for the reruns, Fei Xiao is a powerful DPS, but since they want to sell the Big Herta, most of the current content is AoE. In theory, she could get even stronger though, if they release even faster or even higher frequency attackers, like from what they say in the special program, Aglaea would be. Lingsha is currently one of the top sustains. She's a great sustain in general, but excels in break teams. Though there isn't a lot of fire DPS around, so it's specifically a Firefly break team. She can run a crit DPS build and run 3 harmonies for a fun off-meta team too. But don't feel pressure in pulling for her if you don't really need a sustain. Jade is one of the best teammates for the Big Herta, as I mentioned earlier, and a great character for Pure Fiction in general. If you're looking for a teammate for specifically the Herta, honestly, you probably don't really need her, since Big and Small Herta work well together if you're looking for some DPS role, and again, Serval is better for battering herself and Rimblazer. For the 4 stars, Natasha is a healer you use if you have literally no other option. She offers 0 utility. So Gallagher, who offers like Break Vulnerability, cleanses, debuff applications, or even Lynx, who offers more cleanses as well as aggro increases for Clara, Blade, and Yunli, are better. Asta is a usable support. I won't say she's great, honestly, nowadays. With enough gear, she can reach a 2-turn ult and maintain almost full uptime on a 50 speed buff, which is insane. And with E6, it's also very easy to maintain the big team-wide attack buff, especially against fire-weak enemies, but like, honestly, Robin is just strictly better. Robin offers a much higher attack buff, as well as strong personal damage herself, which is just too hard to beat right now. And again, there is like 0 fire weaknesses around, so tough. Water is basically Topaz on a budget. At E2 and above, he can outperform March 7th, the Hunt one specifically, in a Fei Xiao Robin team. For the Light Cone banner, I should first mention that I don't have calcs and I'm frankly too lazy to learn and do it, so I can't quite accurately gauge the 5-star Light Cone's worth. but I have heard that the Big Herta's one is really good. There's another thing that they've clearly shifted their design philosophy to, is that instead of the light cones just being a significant increase in damage output, the new light cones feel more like they're fixing issues that the base character has without them. Like Sunday can't reliably hit a 3-turn alt rotation, so his light cone fixes that, as well as his front-loaded skill point issues. It fixes that too. The Big Herta similarly regenerates skill points on alting, if I recall correctly, which is the Big Herta's biggest problem, skill point usage. I'll talk about my thoughts more later on, but yeah. Only Silence Remains is basically useless right now since Apocalyptic Shadow and Pure Fiction have 5 targets and Memory of Chaos summons 2 Trotters every cycle. It's basically useless. Landau's Choice is good on like basically just your part, and only if you don't have his signature light cone, because his signature light cone offers the same aggro increase and more and is better than the damage mitigation of Landau's Choice. So yeah. Genius's Repose is by far the best of the 3 4-star light cones right now. If you can get it to S5, which honestly isn't too hard nowadays because it's been a really long time for you to get it to S5, it can compete with the top free-to-play options, which are the Day the Cosmos Fell and the Seriousness of Breakfast. Especially in Pure Fiction and Memory of Chaos, where you can consistently kill enemies because MOC summons Trotters and Pure Fiction is Pure Fiction. Again, I'm writing this near the start of 3.0, so we have info on Aglaea's kit, but we don't have multipliers. We have also been told that her kit is going to be based on the core identities of the Remembrance. The main thing I can say for sure is that she has a whopping 350 max energy, so Hua Hua and Sunday are hugely important. Chances are she's gonna be a top tier DPS, but seeing how HP inflation and power creep in general is intense, yeah, it's not looking that great. Plus, I'd imagine that she really needs Hua Hua and Sunday to bring out her full potential, which not everyone has. In terms of rerun, Robin is the single most important character among these 8. And she already got her second rerun at the same time Boot Hill got his first, and also before Rachel's first. If you don't already have Robin and you want to clear endgame, pull her. Like, seriously, pull her. The entire endgame is balanced around having Robin. If you want to clear endgame within a reasonable amount of time, Robin is basically required. Boot Hill is a good single target DPS. He's still strong even now despite the power creep. Previously, his break damage was already pretty overkill without Harm Blazer, but now he can run Harm Blazer, Rim Blazer, and or Fugue. Silverwolf, unfortunately for her, got power crept into Oblivion. At 1.1, we thought she would be resistant to power creep, which she was for a while, up to about, I'd say, 2.0, give or take. But we didn't realize that they would just make stuff that ignores weaknesses entirely instead of having to rely on Silverwolf's weakness implanting. Like, break DPSs now either ignore weaknesses like Rappa, or can implant their own element like Boot Hill or Firefly without having to restrict your team building. And now even non-break DPSs also have a weakness ignore, like Bi Xiao's ult or Acheron's ult. In terms of 4 stars, Ting Yun is an alright Harmony unit who can use the Dance 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 and the Light Cone banner. Her battering is also kind of losing value nowadays because, like I briefly mentioned, energy costs are inflating. The Herta has 220 energy cost. Aglaea has a goddamn 350 energy cost. Her 50 energy battering is only going to be 1/7 of Aglaea's max energy. That 50 energy is only a quarter of the Big Herta's energy. Unlike when it used to be about somewhere in between half to a third of the total energy cost. Which is not great considering that's the biggest part of her value, but we can see. Anya is another alright Harmony who can regenerate skill points and offer a small damage bonus buff as well as a large speed and attack buff. So, in a sense, hyper carry Asta with better skill point management, which is not that great, honestly. Sushang is a 1.0 4-star DPS, which basically means that she's just dead. In terms of 1.0 4-star DPSs, The only survivor is like kind of Team Xue, but that's because she's been receiving a lot of buffs in general, like Sparkle's release, Poet, and whatnot. And on top of herself also having a higher potential than most other 4 stars to begin with. But anyway, Su Shang's multipliers and buffs are just way too low to keep up with the insane HP inflation. And while Super Break is decent from what I've heard, it's not really better than other 5-star DPS. Like, this is just Boot Hill on a budget as well. Honestly, the best I can say about the 4 stars for these is that these are pretty old 4 stars. You probably have them E6 already. You can get more refund on your pulls. In terms of the light cone banner, there is currently no info on Aglaea's light cone, and information on Genius's greetings is available on Fandom Wiki, and based on what I can tell, it's pretty decent. And I don't know where the Fandom Wiki got that from, but I trust the mods to remove it if it's from leaks. It's probably the second best free-to-play option for Aglaea, since her kit has her enhancing her basics. Since we don't know multipliers, I don't know how much reliance she has on enhancing her basics, but yeah. Subscribe for more is what you should do. Please subscribe. But in game, it's a pretty bad light cone in general, until we get a hunt character who doesn't use their ult or has a passive ult, or in other words, HSR Yoimiya, it will probably stay that way, and honestly, I'm surprised they haven't done that yet. Okay, Dance 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 is the main reason why I included a light cone section at all. Dance 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 is one of the strongest light cones in the entire game. Action advance for the whole team is so good. At S5, at a 24% action advance for the whole team, every 4 ults gives a free full action for the entire team. It's absolutely insane for Harmony characters that can get their ults up fairly quickly, like Harmony MC or Tingyun. And I'm frankly almost certain that Dance 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 is the reason why Harmony's average energy cost is so high. Now onto my personal verdict, but you know, the usual disclaimers, this advice is only for meta, you can pull who you like. But because at the end of the day, you're losing out on only 80 Stellar Jades if you can't 36-star MOC. That it's 80 Jades, it's notable, but it's not gonna be life and death. Please spend responsibly only if you have the financial means to do so and you really want to. With the disclaimers out of the way, if you do not have Robin, pull. Robin is so strong in every single case, and is far more resistant to power creep than every other character featured this patch. The entire game is balanced around having her. It's like really difficult to clear MOC without her, because again, HP inflation. If you don't have 2 limited sustains, or you want one that can do significant toughness and damage, then Lingsha is great too. But note that there are basically no fire weaknesses around, like in the Amphoria's enemies. No, I think there's like 1 fire weak enemy in all of Amphoria's, so... And that one enemy is a common peon, so take note, I guess. Otherwise, just avoid Silverwolf since she's been power crept into Oblivion, and pull whoever else you want. As for light cones, the only one I would actively say is alright is that if you already have Boot Hill, pulling on his light cone banner is not too bad, because it's a pretty big upgrade if you get it, even if we have 4-star break cones now. Like, if I recall correctly, it should be Shadow by Night. And you will also probably get a few Dance Dance Dances and Genius's Greetings along the way, and frankly, Genius's Greetings is probably alright due to the sheer lack of offensive 4-star light cones for Remembrance right now. If you want to make your Robin stronger, I would advise E1 if you don't already have it over her light cone, since we have For Tomorrow's Journey for entirely free, and Poised to Bloom is also another good 4-star option, because most of the time when you're running Robin, it's either a dual erudition or a dual hunt team, so the passive will almost always be active. There's also the consideration that even though E1 is technically more expensive, if you fail to get E1, your pity will still go to the next character, which is why I personally still recommend going for E1. I've also heard that the Big Herta signature light cone is way stronger than other free-to-play options like her fellow Aminator Akron, and also fixes her biggest issue of skill points. The 4-star light cones though are honestly really bad. aside from Genius's Repose, which is alright, but the other two are really bad. Alright, now for my personal thoughts. Personally speaking, I don't like engaging in rage bait and negativity in general, which is part of the reason why I just don't use social media a lot. I don't have Instagram, I don't have Facebook, I don't have TikTok, because those platforms are full of negativity, and I like feeling positive emotions, you know? So I tend to just avoid negative stuff in general. But even then, I still have heard a lot of discourse about Hoyoverse being greedy and whatnot, like forcing us to cash because multiple characters you want are running at the same time. I understand the point, but I don't personally agree with it. If they continue with this would theoretically mean that characters will probably get their reruns sooner, which isn't that bad of a thing. Running 8 banners per patch will feature more characters than running 4 banners per patch, which hopefully would mean that we get reruns for older characters sooner, so we can avoid another ratio situation where it's been a full version cycle and we haven't gotten a single rerun. And from a free-to-play perspective, this also isn't that bad. I'm a free-to-play myself. Okay, well, I used to spend a bit on the game, but I have not spent a single cent in a really long time, so I think I've re-earned this status. And besides, the stuff I cashed on is basically outdated at this point. So anyway, being a free-to-play already involves that missing the characters that you want and waiting for their reruns already. Like, if you're just unlucky, then it's already a fairly common occurrence. So while you may miss more characters, their reruns would come sooner anyway. So like, what's the difference, honestly? Honestly, I would still prefer they did what ZZZ did for 1.4 and ran both feature 5 stars throughout the patch instead of having phase 1 and phase 2. But honestly, it's fine. I don't really care. Alright, thanks for watching. You know, do the usual YouTube stuff. I don't think I need to say at this point. And share whatever thoughts you have in the comments. But please try to keep it neutral, objective, or positive. Like, I don't really want to deal with negativity. And only if you want to. Don't feel forced to do it. Alright, bye.